Have you all come back?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. So are you able to see my slides now?
Yes, I
Yes,
can.
please. I can.
Yeah.
Good. So we are going to, based on what you've discussed, to see how far we can manage that scenario. We are looking at the digital project management principles. Before we start any project, sometimes projects come because of an opportunity, or sometimes we do projects because of a challenge that is happening with a certain organization. Now, those two instances can only be managed very well if we follow some digital project management principles. And one of them, we are going to discuss a few of them here, which are very critical, and we shall see whether it's really critical for us to follow these principles. We are set to enhance project to move to a better, successful implementation. We are saying that digital transformation amplifies traditional principles, and these principles are the more important ones for digital for implementing digital projects. And one of the major critical principle is the scope. Whenever you are given a project, first and foremost, first understand how big is that project. In that case, we're asking, what is the scope? What are we supposed to carry within that project? What are we supposed to do and what are we not supposed to do? So when we get to understand the boundaries of that project, then that will help us to clarify on how far we should move, back having a starting point and an ending point, and that brings us to solving one major problem or preventing what we call scope creeping. Scope creeping means if you do a project and you go beyond it, because if you go beyond the boundaries, beyond what is required, it will mean a number of things. It will impact on you a number of things. One of them, it will go into your budget. Okay? So if you don't have a scope, if you don't have a starting point and an end point within your project, just know you are going to face a bloody nose in terms of finances. It will cost you a lot in finance. The other issue will be the issue of time. Okay? Digital projects, like any other projects, we need to manage time. We need to allocate time. And that's why we always apply tools like the Gantt chart to help us track where we are starting from and where we're ending. You know, with the Gantt charts and those tools, they help us to know that there are some days which are public holidays, weekend days that we don't work. Even with the Gantt chart, we help you to track very well. When did you start the project? In the number of the working days to the time when you're supposed to end. So this will help us to know who is supposed to do what particular item or what particular service at a particular schedule. If is it like okay, in that case, that will mean that a project should be well managed in the time. If you don't manage the time, you also still affect the issue of the budget, because human resource is paid sometimes in hours, sometimes it's paid per day, sometimes per activity done. But in that case, if you are looking at the timely point of payment, that means you are going to be affected within the budget. So apart from the time issue, then the budget component is also very critical, where we are saying that at the budget, we need to know which component consumes what, who is supposed to take which amount of money, and for what mileage or milestone. In that case, we also need to budget well to see that how much is supposed to be reduced, what is supposed to be released at what point of time. Because with the budgeting, it takes us to look at what is the work completed. We pay per completed work at a point of time. So that's why they find that we also pay budget in terms of percentages. The initial, maybe we'll talk about the initial budget cost. Then after developing the system and trying to get a prototype and testing it out, you are sure it's going to work on a certain platform, then you request for some amount of money. That means there is what we call schedules vis-a-vis the budget items. Budgets are always paid in terms of percentages. How far have you got? Have you done 10%? We pay a certain amount of money. Have you done 50%? And the time scope is very critical. So the issue of time, scope, and budget takes us what we call quality. Are we together? The quality of the output that we are going to produce. In digital systems, we always look at what we call user-friendly systems with user-friendly interfaces. You develop a system, you develop a mobile app, should be well accepted by the community. People should be able to use it freely, should be approachable on both, should be used on both mobile phones, desktop phones, and any other computing device. So they should be well tested that they can work on all the platforms available, and we should be able to see that we don't create fatigue, we don't create fear in how people are going to use these systems. So the moment the system we've developed really conforms to those requirements, that means they are accessible, the systems are stable, so people can access them every point of time from any device, so long as there's internet, that means that will be a quality digital project. But after doing all that, we need also to understand that there are always risks involved when you are dealing with projects. Okay, one of the risks in digital projects, we talk about the cyber threats. Cyber threats are a very critical thing in projects because it is a new thing on the globe. Everywhere people are having hackers are on the rampage. People want to have free money. People want to take people at ransom, and they want to get money in a soft way. So risks like hackers, cyber threats are supposed to be taken care of. You should plan better. How are you going to protect your digital project? How is it going to be hosted? Are you going to be using cloud services? Is it going to be an in-house project? And in that case, we are trying to protect the issue of data to avoid what we call data breaching, because for every organization, the biggest asset that an organization can keep safe is what we call data. Data is a very big asset for any organization in this world. Now, I'll pick the last one, which talk about the stakeholders. You remember the question was asking that, what are you going to do? How are you going to manage a project that has come up for the first time, where they are talking about that there's issues of limited budget and the issue of staff being negative about the project. This takes us what we call digital stakeholders. We need to identify who are those people that are going to manage, are going to work, are going to be affected, or they are going to affect this digital project. Okay, so we are going to see that because the staff, if it is an academic institution, members of staff, if they are lecturers, if they are human resource and whatever, they need to work with this system in order to produce input for decision making. So in that case, we are saying that we need to bring them on board through a number of ways. Either we are going to create a number of meetings, we are going to create workshops, we are going to create avenues, how we can discuss with them, and then let them know that this project is not, it has not come up in a way that it is going to antagonize with their working operations. However, it has come up to make life easier for them in terms of the working environment. So one would ask a question, why project management principles matter when you're talking about the working experience with the youth? We are saying that, why does it matter that it is very critical to have clear boundaries that protect people who are affected or are being affected by this project in terms of the boundaries. How is the project going to help an organization? Which departments are going to be affected? Which departments are not supposed to be included in this project at the moment? So the issue of clarity on the boundaries, on the scope, how big, how huge is the project? How small is the project? Which areas is it going to be affected? It is very critical, because we said that the moment you have a clear objective, a clear project scope, that means you are going to avoid what we call scope creeping. Now, the other bit is the issue of sustainability. How are we going to sustain that project? If you bring on a project, yes, it is a digital project, maybe it is for sales, marketing campaigns. How are you going to manage it? If you have got maybe some members said we should get partners that we can have some money to invest in the project. But after that money you've got, and those partners are said, okay, the project has been implemented. Is it going to end there, or it is going to have a continuous operation? So we need to understand that clear that sustainability is very key in project management, where you have sponsors in the beginning, and the project has maybe been sponsored for 1 year. At the end of the year, how are you going to move on with that project to the next coming years? So it is important to know that there should be continuity, and how are you going to sustain that one is the factor of the principle of sustainability. You should have a system that you are putting in place, and you should be able to know that it is going to work continuously for some big time. The issue of meaningful outcome, the impact is very critical. You have a system, you have a project that you've come up with. It is a system for student management. It should be able to help to support both the students and the staff. We are talking about the internal and external stakeholders, who are affected both internally and externally. So the moment they start complaining about the same system, that means you've not scored, you've not successfully implemented a good project. A project should be always positive to the users, and they should be able to appreciate that, yes, this item came up in place, we invested a lot of money in this area, and this is what we benefited. The benefit should be always a bit higher than the challenges. The last one, talk about the issue of the budget, the team, the teamwork. We talk about the participants. Okay, so we are saying that in the project management, we should have these two major elements catered for seriously. We should be working in teams. We should see that the participants are as effective in this project as much as possible. So in project management, that is very critical, and we cannot avoid those major core principles as we are starting a project. So in the brief, we are saying, are you able to see the slides clearly?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So
sorry,
we are saying that,
sorry,
yes?
you have changed the slide because it is the same slide for 10-15 minutes.
It's not moving?
Yes.
I think you wanted to
We have
double check.
3.3.
Yeah, so the
Now we
slide
are
is called
on slide.
Digital Project Management Principles.
Okay. Are we able to see it now?
No, it's still the same. But what you can do, Ronald, you can. Now it's, I think, yeah, you can stop sharing, then start sharing again. I think that's the
Let me
best.
share again.
Yes.
Okay. Let me know whether you are able to see that one.
Yes.
Yeah, we see now a different slide.
This is fine. Okay. Is that visible?
Yes, please.
Yeah, it's visible. Yeah.
Super.
Oh,
No problem.
okay. Okay. So we are saying that on the issue of scope for any project, like we say, we should be mindful of the scope. The scope defines the boundaries of the project, and it is saying what exactly are we trying to achieve, and what is outside our responsibility. So in that scope, we want to know what are we going to achieve, what are we supposed to do, and what are we not supposed to do. So with the scope, it is very critical whenever you get the project for the first time. Don't just go into a project when you don't know where you are starting from and where you are supposed to end, because it affects all the other ingredients, and majorly the budget issue. Okay, so we are saying that clear objectives help us to define the scope, help us to know, to see the intended change and provide direction. The moment you have the right objectives, you need to sit as a project manager, you need to sit with the project sponsor and understand what is the challenge or what is the product you want to bring out through that project. And the moment it gives you the right objectives, then we design projects depending on the objectives that we are trying to answer, just like in a research project. And in that project, we also need to define the deliverables. What do we get at every stage? When we start the initial stage, what do we expect to get? We discussed about those ones. Remember in session 1 and 2. Okay, so we need to see the deliverables. This should be tangible outputs that demonstrate progress. If we say yes, we've done the stakeholders management, then do we have a stakeholders list that those people are going to be part of our project? Who is more critical than the other? Who is supposed to do which activity within our project? And those things, we always map them in what we call the Gantt chart to see that, yes, we have a developer, we have someone, we have maybe a communicator, the PRO, we have people who are managing the community, we have the sponsor. What is the role? Who is supposed to do what and the other? Okay. We also look at specific target groups. Who are the projects, the people who are project, who the project serves and where does it reach? Okay. These are all stakeholders, those who are affected and those who affect our projects. We also look at agreed activities. We document them. Are you together? So that we don't start complaining when the project starts. Who is supposed to do what and who is not supposed to do the other. So we are saying that whenever we do well-designed project with good boundaries, with a very good scope, this prevents confusion, it prevents overload, and it prevents disappointment by protecting other people because there's clarity and there's focus, and we have what we call sustainability. So in that sense, we are saying that that project should be able to move very well. And this is one of the principles that we should take into consideration whenever we are given a project to go on. The expected outcomes, we are saying that the change or the benefits resulting from the project and the impact beyond the outputs. So the moment we have a very well aligned scope, you should know, you should be rest assured that the project will be managed very well. Okay. So the other bit we are talking about components, we are going to get a bit faster. One of the components, as we really echo it again, that clear objectives, very critical, well-defined deliverables, which are the tangible outputs. Those are clear components of a project scope. We cannot avoid them. We cannot, if we miss them, we just need to have challenges within scoping the project. Okay? So we also talk about specific target groups because they are still stakeholders. We define who the project serves. Who is supposed to be within this project? The project, according to this project where we are running, it should be inclusive of both the national and international. We should not assume that either is going to handle only the national or the international. So we should be, the scope should be very clear that is it a uniform scope or is it for a particular area, or so all those ones you find that if you talk about the target group, you can say the youth at this age, the youth work in this area, those who are going to do online workshops, those who are majoring. So this is all helps us to look at this, the issue of the scope. So you need to be very, very careful to understand that scoping, project scoping is one of the most critical areas that we need to give time and we need to give a lot of attention whenever we are managing digital projects. Okay? If there are questions there, please let me have them in the chat room, because this area we need to understand better. It is more hands-on than any other part that we think about. Okay? So we are saying that how do we manage scope as a protective mechanism? Yes. One of it is looking at the teams. How do we work as a team? You remember just a few minutes back, we have been in groups in the Zoom rooms and realized that some of you failed to discuss with your colleagues about this particular issue. Some of you felt it's okay, you can give your own output alone, but within projects, we need to work as teams. We need to consult each other. We need to get ideas from one another because you never know. What someone understands better may not be the same to another person. So the moment we work as a team, we understand each other. We are protecting ourselves from what we call overcommitment and burning out. In a group of 10 people, someone thinking for the rest of the 5 is sometimes burning out one person. You are overthinking. Before you know it, you can get sick, or else some people want to sleep on the job. It may not be a good thing. So we are talking about burning out of one individual. You think and think and think until you can think no more. Yet the project is supposed to serve a very big team. The issue of the budget is very critical. I'm emphasizing the issue of the budget is very critical because we need to have what we call a controlled budget. And the controlled expansion of the budget will lead into what we call over budgeting, okay? Where you will not have money to cater for some of the items that you thought you were supposed to be implementing. And that one alone can cause what we call projects not to be successful, okay? So we need to have a project. The moment you can have the budget very well, because a budget that we always develop should be tagged to the activities that are going to be worked on from stage 1 to the last stage, from the initial stage, from the planning stage to the time when we say we are exiting the project. And I think this is one area why project managers throw out parties to colleagues, to members, when the project has been successful and has been well implemented, and they say, oh God, this has not been a simple thing. I've managed the project within time and budget, meaning that the project has been in the right scope, it has been done in the right time as agreed, you've used the money that you planned for. Sometimes, if you have maybe a surplus, maybe somewhere, somehow, you manage to do some cut-offs, you can have some money for people to take home, maybe, but in many cases, with budget, they should not overshoot. They should be within the limitations. We also look at the participants. How do we make the participants comfortable within a project? We have to know that every person should be well communicated to. They should have the information at hand. So there's unclear expectations, poor communication. Those cause a lot of problems within the project, and meaning that it will impact the outcome. Are you together? It can either impact it positively or negatively. But the moment the participants, the people are affected, the stakeholders are comfortable, that is going on, that means the project will successfully be implemented. And we are saying that we are sometimes saying no to good ideas to prevent excellent ideas. Some people say such things within a group. So managing scope requires someone to be a little bit extraordinary, to think beyond what other people may be thinking about, okay? So that you can say, we are not going to do this one, so that we can have the other thing go out. Otherwise, if we can say everything, okay, let us cater for this, let us cater for this one, we did not think about this. Also, this group is vulnerable, they need to be trained, but we had planned for only 50 or 100, but we before you know it, we have 200 people wanted to be trained. So the moment you don't have a scope boundary, you realize that you will burn out, and then it will block the good ideas that may come in a period of time. When maybe the sponsor says, a minute, this was not well delivered because the numbers that you had were beyond what we anticipated, and we did not deliver the quality services as we planned. Maybe they are going to give everyone a laptop, maybe they want to give everyone data, and it stretch their budget. So it becomes a problem. So we are saying, to prevent scope creep, what do you do? What do you do? We need to budget to manage our project very well. Okay? So that takes us to the other major concept of time management. Okay, someone said there's a question in the chat room. Someone says, could you please do it? Full slide, okay. What can be done if some members of the group feel reluctant to participate or to share ideas? Yes, as a project manager, you cannot have members in a group that they are reluctant, because that's what we shall be talking about sorting out the issue of stakeholders engagement. You need to get people to do, I mean, subjectively. Are you together? That always comes in when some people are not in a certain project, when they are not informed of the objectives of the project. But the moment someone comes into a project, you know that someone can be reluctant, because in a project, we always pay people for particular activities done. If someone has not been active, someone has decided not to do anything, that means it's going to stall the project. Somewhere, somehow, his role is going to be felt negatively. So I would assume that one alone is not a good thing. We anticipate that we should have, during stakeholders engagement, we should have people who are subjective and they are able to do what they're supposed to do. Okay, so we say that you should plan realistically the issue of time. Okay, we should be good time managers. We should be able to prepare people before. We know that the project is going to take 6 months. 6 months, there are holidays and there are weekends. So what are the real days? We always use this Gantt charts to make sure that there are a number of tools that we can use, but Gantt charts looks to be a very simple tool that everyone can use sometimes, because people are using Microsoft applications, and you see that you can schedule and you know when to start and when to end. So we shall be looking at considering participants, time zones, and digital fatigue. That's why most of us in Uganda here, it is 3 p.m. I don't know, some other countries it is 1 p.m. Others, it is beyond that time. So let's reconcile and see when can we schedule. If you are doing digital projects, please make sure you ask your colleagues, when are they available? Can you reconcile the time zones? Sometimes you can restrict yourself to a certain time because of the numbers. And then you say, okay, we may not take all of us because this is the agreed time for all the group members. So we are saying time is money. If you don't manage the time very well, that means we shall be lacking on time. So realistic planning is very critical as one of the strategies. Honesty on the time needed, sequencing the tasks, when should one task begin and when should the other end. We look at allocating time per schedule. There are times when you can say, yes, this one will take 1 day, 3 weeks, 1 month. So it should be realistic, and then respecting availability, considering the time zones, as we said, who is supposed to be there and what time. We've discussed a lot of issues of the budget. We should have a budget which is transparent, allocated to particular activities. We should have realistic estimations. Don't over budget on simple things, and then track expenditures vis-a-vis the works that has been done. We cannot pay, we said we need to pay in percentages depending on the availability of the work done. So as a project manager, it is a critical part that you need to play within your projects, and more especially the digital projects. You can only pay per what activity has been successfully implemented. So it is very critical that with budgeting moves directly proportional with the work that has been fully executed. Okay, so clear financial reporting, either weekly, daily, monthly, should be put in place and should be accurate, well-structured, transparent documentation to align with all those activities that we have agreed upon And we should be able to see that if the budget is well managed, then that takes us to the quality of the work, which we said the other time, that beyond perfection, quality means alignment between the objectives, implementation, and outcome. So the moment we look at the objectives that were set in the beginning, in the initial stage, we look at what is the output that has come up. If they really direct a proportion and they give the output as agreed upon, that means we have produced what we call quality work. So in that sense, we are saying that reflecting on evaluation is very critical on every time when you want to see quality. So I say that reflective evaluation is embedded throughout the project life cycle, which transforms activities into learning and growth. In projects, we do learn at every point of time. But the more we learn, the more we have to make perfections. That's why I find that they can ask that we want a project manager who has dealt with this project, a certain project, for like maybe 10 projects for this period of time. You have a project cycle of this number of projects. Maybe the value of the project would be to this amount of millions dollars, so that they can understand that you have been tested and approved. You have tested yourself, you have gone through a number of projects, and it is effective that you can manage this project meaningfully. So in terms of quality, make sure that the project is relevant to the needs of the user, it is effective, you achieve the engagements, emotional intelligence, balanced participation. People should be able to be active, like the one says. If people decide not to be active, what happens? It is very dangerous. So inclusive design, where we're going to look at, are you going to have a project if it's a digital one? Does it? Are you going to have that one that fits on mobile applications, a web applications? Can it be accessed on all the platforms, Linux, Microsoft Windows? Is it accessible on all the devices? So you should be having inclusive design. And then the other bit is what we call clear communication. Okay? So clear communication, we said it can eliminate a lot of things in terms of members being part of the project, and for the success of the project, communication, which is very clear, is very critical for a successful project that can be implemented. I've gone through this because of time. We have a 5 minutes. I don't know whether we shall be in time, but we need a 5 minutes. Okay, let us use 2 minutes to answer whoever is comfortable to tell us, given the 4 digital project management principles below. 1 is budget, 2 is scope, 3 stakeholders, and 4, which is timeline. Which one do you think is most important? Anyone can unmute and tell us something, because we want to see what we've got from what we've discussed a bit. Let us use 2 minutes.
Okay, for me, I think it's the scope.
Someone is saying it's scope, okay?
Because the scope gives
Why
you
is
an overview of what the project will be all about.
That is Annie saying scope. Any other person?
I think it's the stakeholders.
Why?
Because I think the first you need to understand who is involved and who it's it for. Because stakeholders, for my opinion, define everything else: the scope, the budget, the timeline. And if you don't identify and engage stakeholders early, you risk building the wrong thing. The requirements may change later. People may feel excluded and resist the project. So, I mean, the stakeholder, from my opinion, tells you what a successful project looks like.
Thank you, Mariana. Next, what more 2 people? Others can go on the chat, because I'm seeing people are saying scope, okay.
Yes.
We're going to see why.
Yes, scope is important for me, because first we need to define our needs and what we need to do to manage these needs. So scope is important at the start of the project for me.
Okay, the last one. Last one? No more?
Yeah, I'll also go for scope.
Okay, Isaac?
Yeah, I'll go for scope, because the scope also defines the boundaries of the project. So I think I'll go for scope.
Okay, let us take that one to that level and we can go through the chart. People are saying scope, but for sure, I would say that it's not only scope that is the most important. No, maybe we would say it is the most critical, okay? Because issues to do with the time and budget, they're also important. Every stage here is equally important as compared to the other because they are integrated. When you're going to talk about scope, scope determines budget. When you talk about budget, budget also affects time. When you talk about stakeholders, it's also another area that will determine who wants what and the other. Because now these four areas are equally independent. However, one of them is more critical than the other. I actually accept your answers are very right, but the best one would be that all of them are equally important, although one of them would be more critical in having the project. That's why we started by understanding you have given a project. What would you start with? Are you saying that now coming out clearly? Would you start with budgeting? Would you start with scope? Would you start with looking at the stakeholders? Or would you start mapping the time? How long should you take with your budget? How long should the program go through? Okay, so as we wind up, we are looking at the risk part. Please, every project, just to know, there's a big risk. There are always risks on every project, and more especially with digital projects, risks are part of projects. So we have to plan for risks. Risks, the common risks in projects are one, delays. Delays can come from a number of issues. Like one said, some members decided to keep quiet. They are not participating. So they delay in decision making. Other members partner withdrawals. Someone says, I'm going to do this part, I'm going to deliver A, B, C, D, and it doesn't deliver on time. When it doesn't deliver on time, that means a big risk. We may not be able to proceed. The technical failure. Some machines, people supply equipment. If we are talking about servers, okay, so risk is very critical. We shall discuss these things in the next chapter as we shall go on next week, but they are very, very clear understanding. Stakeholders management, relationship is very critical. You need to know who are your stakeholders, participants, the funders, and who are those people that matter a lot. We can even do what we call matrix risk mapping. Who is better than the other? Who is more critical in one area than the other? So with stakeholders also move with clear communication. We manage conflicts. We also look at role classifications. And then we are able to say, okay, all those ones are better. The previous slides, we talked about the project life cycle. I brought in this one at this stage to show you that what we talked about in the second phase, when we talk about project life cycle, is clearly mapping with the principles. So whatever principles we've been discussing about, starting from getting the idea right or developing the idea, looking at the needs, plan, monitor. When we are saying yes, we can party has been well all same we are going to end of monitoring initial bit. They are more critical because they affect scope, they affect the time, and they affect the budget. So I'm going to leave this one with you at your own convenience. We are going to share this slide for you. It will be, if you had a lot of time, we are going to look at these questions in the groups, but fortunately we don't have time. But they are clearly asking, what project would you choose and why? Are you going to choose a digital skill project or a local youth project? Those projects have given insights for you to go and reflect on them. And then it can take like 10, 20 minutes, but we don't have time for now. But we are going to close with one thing. If you have questions, please, can you ask any question as I give you some bit of the questions on Scholarship so that we can today. Any question as we switch to Scholarship?
No, I just wanted to mention, Ronald, if you want, you can always give them a homework. So this task that you wanted to give looks very interesting. If you want, we can give them as a homework, and the next Thursday we can discuss, or I don't know, however you want.
Exactly. Exactly. So let us have that one part of our work for next week. The first thing we do, and we see how far you've gone, so that we can move the others, because all these sessions are moving, following each other. So it is also a good thing for us to be able to okay. So I'm going to share Scholarship so that we can answer a few questions and we see how good we can go with this one. Are we able to see that one?
Yes.
Yes.
Please, can we log in and it is just around 3 minutes because there are a few questions. 2-3 minutes. One minute to go.
Sorry, just one thing. These presentations will be sent via email or have they been sent before via email?
So usually what I do, so I'm the one who's responsible for Digiskill email. If you want presentation, you can just send me email, like, and then I'll
Okay,
provide you.
okay,
So, yeah.
okay. Thank you.
Adrian, can they take over? We are done with that small exercise. Thank you for participating today. Good day.
Thank you, Ronald, for this amazing session. I really enjoyed. And also, as you can see in the comments, participants are very satisfied. And also, since Marina mentioned that, I actually wanted to mention that when it comes to presentations or something, if you want, you can always send email to Digiskill. And of course, I'll try my best to provide you the content as soon as possible. So also, one thing got confirmation from Youth, and Youth Pass is now officially in the game. But as I mentioned the first session, for the Youth Pass, rules need to be a little bit more strict. As I mentioned also previously, like Digiskill certificate, minimum 50%. But for the Youth Pass, I think you all were part of Erasmus Plus training courses, youth exchanges. You know you to be present physically all the time in order to receive Youth Pass. So what we will do, of course, first session we will not count because it was like a technical issue error from our side. But from second session till fifth, I think we will for sure give those youth pass to the people who are present each online session. Like just seeing now from the screen, I can name 10 people who are here since day one. So of course it's not fair that someone is receiving youth pass who came only twice, and someone who was here like all 5 sessions till April 9 with us, they also receive youth pass. So we need to be fair with youth pass certificate. As I said, we will not count first session. And then I will discuss this with my Digiskill team on our next coordination board meeting. Like, should we maybe give us these 3 online sessions minimum for you to receive it by certificate? But for the future Digiskill training courses, we will do 4 more. You need to be present every online session to receive it by certificate. But for this one, as I said, we will not count first session because it was from our mistake from our side. And then since we got this information in the middle of the training course, I will discuss with my team what should be percentage of your attendance to receive this youth pass certificate. So for sure on April 9, this is our last session, I will give you final answer. But for those who are here since day one, my advice is continue coming to online sessions, and also please enroll modules online. You will receive Digiskill certificate, and also you will receive youth pass certificate. I think that would be it. I'm seeing comments quickly. Yes. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Like we were communicating with Pass team for last 1 month, and finally we got final information yesterday. So it wasn't up to us. But please, my only advice is try to come every Thursday. We have 2 Thursdays left, and then we will discuss everything, and also final information and response from us will be on April 9. So if you have any questions or any doubts or something, please send me the email on Digiskill. And as I said, I'll try to answer as soon as possible. And this is all from us. Thank you so much for coming, and see you next Thursday. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you
Goodbye.
so much. Bye bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you so much.